From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your evening update.
Well, happy Sunday evening to you, that is. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the fires. Then we're going to talk about the impacts Hillary will have on our local weather when it comes to showers and quite possibly even some thunderstorms. Some people may be concerned about the winds. And then, of course, we'll talk about Hillary and its impacts overall as it starts to continue to move northward here. Now, before we get into talking about the fires, because you can see all the fire perimeters and the latest activity here, I want to remind you that there are a lot of evacuation warnings, a lot of evacuation watches, road closures. You can find out all of that information on weathernorcal.com. And what you do is you go to the fire section. That will give you information about the fire, any particular fire that you're looking for. That will also give you within that area, you can also check out where all the evacuation warnings and watches are for your area. And if you go to the road sections map or the road conditions map, that will then of course take you to the Caltrans map, which can then show you where all the road closures are as well as far as the highways are concerned. So just to kind of be aware of that there's a lot of other information. What I'm here to do is to help you understand better where these fires are and where they are in location to some particular communities. Now, what I do here are a couple of things, and this is something new that I've included here today for the first time. You see the area in red, that's the fire perimeter of the head fire. Where you see these areas shaded in red, those are basically heat signatures that the satellite detected here in the last 6 hours or so. This yellow here is indicating that it's about 24 hours old. So what this is telling us is this is where the most recent activity with the fire has been. And then, of course, we take a look at the fire perimeter and give you the distances. So when you're looking at these colors, remember, red is the latest activity. Yellow is slightly older data, not as active. Say this was maybe more active, say 24 hours ago. All right, and then, of course, you can see the distances. Now, keep in mind, these distances are also just to give you a general idea. So you've got the Den fire, about 1.8 miles from Horse Creek. Now, I'm not going to mention every single town and every single distance here, but you can kind of see here, get an idea for yourself. Let's take you off to the west side of the fire here. There's a look at Sayed Valley and Happy Camp. What we're really concerned about here is the Malone fire, and the northern perimeter of that fire is 6.2 miles from Happy Camp. Now we take you to the south end of the fire here, quite far from Etna, but look at the Scott fire. There you can see about 14.2 miles from Etna, quite far on the eastern side of the head fire to Wairika, and Fort Jones about 12.4 miles. Now we take you out to the deep fire. So it's the southern end of the fire where we've seen most of the activity here throughout the day, and of course the last night as well. It has moved closer to the Trinity Alps Resort. The firefighters have mentioned that they have taken measures to help protect that is the resort. Meanwhile, not as much activity on the northeast side, so hasn't moved any closer to those particular communities. Meanwhile, we take you to the south here. Here's Highway 299. And there you can see the distances are over 10 miles to Helena, Junction City, and not to mention Weaverville. Let's take you out to the north and west into Delaware County. And again, you can see most of the activity here with the Smith Rivers complex has been on the south side, also on this part of the fire as well. About 6.4 miles from Gasquet. Really, this hasn't moved any closer to any of these communities that you see here from any of the earlier reports. We are certainly seeing this fire grow. Now, this is older data here, so not as active, or it was more active 24 hours ago, but now you can see most of the activity has been on the outer fringe of where that fire perimeter is. It has moved closer over the last few days to Idlewild at about 0.7 miles now at this point. Here's a look at the Perch fire, and there you can see most of the activity is kind of on the western side of the fire. It is 2.5 miles from Orleans, and then of course many miles away is the Bluff complex on the west side or west of Orleans. Meanwhile, we take you out to the Lone Pine fire. Now, most of the activity has been on the south side of the fire, not as active on the northwest. So Hoopa, I guess, could breathe a little sigh of relief right now, but that doesn't mean you're out of the woods just yet. Let's put it that way. But about 4.4 miles from Willow Creek and about 2.5 miles from Hoopa. Let's take you to the south here. There's the Pilot Fire. Now, you can see just activity all around the entire perimeter here, and you're about 6.2 miles from High and Palm, 12.6 miles from Mad River, and about 9.7 miles from Dinsmore. Let's take you up to the north here. Here's the Lost Fire. Now, on the west side of the fire, not as active, which is good because it's closer to these communities like Berry Glen and Orick, for example. It's more active, though, on the east side of the fire, putting it about 5.2 miles from Johnson's at this point. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. I'd like for you to take a breath because now it's round 2, and we're going to kind of go into the next phase of the forecast. And we're going to talk more about the potential for rain and thunderstorms, and of course, Hillary. Of course, you've been hearing about Hurricane Hillary the last few days. It is going to bring rain to us. It is going to bring us rain. Not a ton of rain. It's not going to bring us a ton of wind. So the impacts are going to be fairly minimal. What will be good about the impacts is it'll bring us rain. One of the bad things is added moisture, which means there's also the potential for more thunderstorms. That being said, long range and really through this week, less thunderstorm activity is expected. Once we get past Monday, and really Tuesday there's a slight chance, but once we get past Monday, I think we can really feel much better with the forecast and the fact that we're not expecting to see much more in the way of lightning strikes. Cooler temperatures next week as well. It is going to be a breath of fresh air, I tell you what. It's going to be a lot cooler out there. Let's take a look at that forecast for tonight. You've got the rain possibly coming in tonight, as early as tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now, I think it's mainly going to be a form of some showers through the day in the valley, but we could see some isolated thunderstorms for everyone in the valley. Not to mention the mountains, of course. Much cooler there as well, only reaching the upper 60s to low 70s for those daytime highs. So it is bringing in some cooler air. There you can see all that moisture streaming northward, heavy rainfall down into Southern California, making its way into Nevada. Now the main stream itself is going to be moving northward off to our east. But here's the thing. We've got an area of low pressure that's to our south. The counterclockwise flow around that low is going to help to draw in this tropical moisture coming in from Hillary and wrap around right into Northern California. That's going to give us some much needed rain, but unfortunately could also help to spark up some thunderstorms with some of the disturbances rotating around that area of low pressure. So let's take a look at Futurecast. We're going to take you into tonight. You see how we're starting to see it kind of get wrapped up in that upper level flow. Now some of it continue to head northward with the main flow, but around the area of low pressure, we're seeing this activity kind of wrap around it and move it on in. Now you can see some of the heavier rainfall. There could be some embedded thunderstorms in there. That's tomorrow morning, by the way, at 7 a.m. So we're talking about the potential for some lightning strikes, but really overall, just looking at some showers out there and some periods of some heavier rainfall. But you see by noon, we're seeing the potential for some thunderstorms popping up, especially around parts of the valley as well. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that. But there you can kind of see, again, just the showers, maybe a few isolated thunderstorms in there. Let's take in about 5, 6 o'clock. Now, it's beginning to dry out for the valley at this point. So I think for, say, the second half of the afternoon into the evening, we dry things out for the valley, and then the bulk of the rain is going to be to the north and west. This right here is going to be a bit of a concern because not only will we be dealing with the heavier rainfall, but thunderstorms, but erratic winds with that as well. So just we'll have to be on the lookout for that. I'm sure the firefighters are a little concerned about this that we could be looking at here as we go into tomorrow evening. But you can see that really some decent rain heading down into Trinity County and southern Humboldt County as well. But it does break apart after that. Now, here's Tuesday morning. Now, here's the thing with Tuesday. I'm thinking that there's still going to be some leftover moisture from Hillary that'll be over on top of us. What that will do is allow us to see maybe some afternoon convection Tuesday afternoon. You can kind of see it right here. See these little pop-ups. But if you'll notice, I mean, it's just not nearly as active as we've seen. But another thing that may hinder this is the cloud cover that we do see Tuesday morning. If we get enough clearing in the morning, I think there's a better chance for some of that afternoon convection and maybe some afternoon thunderstorms. But really, honestly, once we get past Tuesday, I think we're done. We're done with the thunderstorms for now. Oh, it just feels so good to say that. It feels good to see that in the forecast because it's just been a nightmare the last week with all the lightning storms that we've seen, and now we're finally getting this break. Okay, so here we are Tuesday night at 11 p.m., just some clouds left over. No more rain at this point. Now let's take a look at the long range here. Friday, the forecast models are picking up on a little bit of activity here. I'm not concerned about it. It could bring us a little bit of rain, but that's probably about it. I don't anticipate any thunderstorms. By the way, that's Thursday night into Friday morning. So that's what we're looking at here. And then, of course, it's dry. There's going to be another disturbance kind of passing to our north. This could maybe bring us a little bit more rain, but not terribly concerned about thunderstorms at this point after tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at the rainfall totals, and it's beginning to get a little bit more widespread, and you can see on average about 1/4 to 1/2 inch for many of us. For the mountains, including the valley, I think a little bit more than that in some areas. Unfortunately, where we could really use some rain here in Del Norte County, it doesn't look like it's going to quite reach it that far west, but we could maybe pick up a trace to a few hundreds here and there out along the coast as a result of Hillary. All right, speaking of Hillary, here it is. There's all the rain and the moisture associated with it. You've got the area of low pressure, and of course, it is now a tropical storm. It is going to be moving northward. It's still anticipated to be a tropical storm as it heads toward Las Vegas with winds in excess of 40 miles per hour. But then by the time it moves to the east of us, it'll just be a typical area of low pressure. But you saw that moisture that's going to get kind of trapped in here. So there's where the heavier rainfall is. It's off to our east, but again, we're going to be tapping into some of that moisture on Monday and see some of that rain coming on in, but not nearly as heavy as what they're seeing. Take a look at the amount of rainfall. Again, you can clearly see the track of the storm northward. This is where the heaviest rainfall is going to be. This is where we're going to hear about the mudslides and debris flows, but you can see some of that kind of getting wrapped up here into Northern California. Let's talk about the winds. This would obviously be a bit of a concern. Clearly see again the track of that storm. That's where you have the strongest winds. As it veers off to the north and east, it has less of an impact on us. So let's take a look at those winds. You see, these are the gusty winds that we're seeing here this evening in Southern California. Then those winds work their way northward. Now, what you'll notice here is we are seeing some very gusty winds in those patchy spots. That's because of the mountains. So over many of those mountain ridges, you'll see very gusty winds, but we're seeing 30, 40 miles an hour. That's pretty typical with a tropical storm, right? But you head off over us, look at this. I mean, the winds are almost fairly non-existent. So we're really, for the most part, dodging this storm in the terms of winds. The rain, yes, it would be nice, but we don't want those winds either. So we can be very grateful and thankful for the fact that the storm itself is mainly off to the east of us, and we're not really getting those winds kicking on in. Now, as I mentioned, with those thunderstorms coming in Monday evening around Siskiyou County, it is going to create some problems with erratic winds. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that. But you can see overall after that, the winds no longer really a factor. All right, you still with me? I'm sure many of you have lost interest at this point, but this is a long forecast. Here's what we have in store for us tonight. Temperatures upper 50s to around 60. You've got showers coming in here as early as tonight, moving in from the southeast, making its way north and west here by tomorrow morning. I've got the thunderstorms in there. Don't let this scare you. Yes, we've got thunderstorms in there, but I think it's going to be mainly in the form of rain with a few scattered thunderstorms in there as well. And the chances are going to be for everyone. And that's why you've got the lightning strikes everywhere, but that doesn't mean everyone is going to see those lightning strikes. All right, so at least everyone's going to most likely see some form of rain, with the exception of the coast not getting much of it. All right, so here's we have your 7-day outlook. So I've got the mainly cloudy skies here, showers and thunderstorms for everyone in the mountains. Now Tuesday, I've just included a slight chance. I'm not terribly concerned about it. There's a chance I may be taking that out here by the time we get into tomorrow. But there you can see, as we go through the rest of the week, much cooler temperatures and dry conditions. As I mentioned, maybe a chance for a PM shower Thursday for Alturas and Susanville. Otherwise, it's dry through next week. Your 7-day outlook for the valley, showers, maybe some thunderstorms embedded in there through the afternoon in particular. By the evening, it'll be dry. And it will be dry most likely all the way through next week. Now, I have included a slight chance for a stray shower on Tuesday. But again, quite honestly, I'll probably be taking that out here as we go into the Monday afternoon forecast. But overall, it's Monday. That's the day that we'll see most of the rain, and not to mention maybe a chance with thunderstorms. And not only is it dry, but it's much cooler next week. Look at these temperatures. low to mid 90s. I'll take that. Back down to 89 degrees by Sunday. Oh, by the way, look at Monday. I have 79 for Reading, 78 for Red Bluff. Chico high of about 80 degrees.